I've spent, I don't know, 23 years as of today visiting Nicollet Mall for work, for fun. But we have to be realistic. Post-COVID, Nicollet Mall, perhaps because of a lack of return to office, perhaps because of fears over crime, all sorts of factors combining to make Nicollet Mall feel like a shell of what it once was. And to me, even though this is somewhat controversial in the city of Minneapolis, to me, it is important to invest in this area because it is the front door. It is the first impression that so many people get of our community. And there is a full on effort by the Minneapolis Downtown Council, by developers, to make a difference in re-envisioning what downtown can look like. And a lot of it starts with that one corridor. Lisa Middag is with the Minneapolis Downtown Council. She is in charge of this effort, trying to figure out what Nicollet Mall is going to look like as the Senior Director of Economic Development. Lisa, thanks for being here.
Happy to be here. Thanks so much for the conversation.
So the Downtown Council hired a consultant to come up with this sort of retail strategy playbook. Nicollet Mall is tricky because you have big spaces. Retail is sort of flopping in just about every downtown central area, at least what we used to think of retail as being. And we have the fact that like people are in office maybe 3 days a week, maybe 4. All of these things sort of combine to make this feel, I'm sure at times, like an uphill battle, right?
Yeah, it is a little bit of a perfect storm. It's also, like all perfect storms, like a moment of potential for great reinvention. So if you're on the half empty side or half full side,
Right.
there's a lot of opportunity there. There's a lot of space. There's a lot of possibility and a lot of space. So yeah, it's certainly a turning point time for us.
Why don't you explain, first of all, why it matters? Because I think there is political difference of opinion in the city of Minneapolis as to how much of the public attention should be focused on this kind of, 10-block corridor?
Right. I think there's cultural legacy and people's memories of downtown and all of that rolled in to a lot of what people's expectations are around Nicollet. But I think you're
Mm.
right. Like if you look at the situation of our convention center and its proximity, you look at the range of our large employers downtown and their proximity, and you look at the range of investment we've made in this corridor over the years. And even though it's seen a lot of change, it's also, it's so many people care about it. So many people remember it. And so many people have a stake in what its future is going to be. So, it's easy enough to say that how downtown goes, so goes the region. I think a lot of people recognize that there's an economic engine here. But this particular space also has a lot more going on in it as well. So
Lisa Middag is with the Minneapolis Downtown Council. So what are you trying to get, Lisa? Like when you think of the mix, like you're not bringing back Dayton's. I know a texture has already said we miss the Holidazzle Parade. I love the Holidazzle Parade too, but we also have to be realistic. So many people came down for the parade and then skedaddled and out of there. And you're like, okay, if you're a restaurant, does that help you? We don't have much retail to linger around. So what kind of stuff, does the future of Nicollet Mall look like?
I mean, it's a powerful question. We talk about the transition, and the strategy talks about this too, where we're obviously still a place where there's a lot of work happening, and we have our large employers, right? But we're transitioning more from a central business district toward the concept of a central social district. It's not only those big employers, it's also a whole lot of residents, it's a whole lot of visitors, it's a lot of social interaction. It's coming down for the Twins or the Timberwolves or the Lynx, or coming down for a concert or going to the Dakota or seeing a show over on Hennepin, a Broadway show. So there's all these other elements that really make up that downtown experience. And so thinking about what is that transition of a central business district to social district, then you start to think about what are those other kinds of uses that support people's social attachment and interaction to space. So that's kind of where we're going with it, if that
Yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah, you think like, all right, where's the sort of pickleball venue, or where's the Crayola museum, or some these sort of interactive things that would drive people to make the visit, because that's what
Right.
people tell me when I say I love being downtown. They say, well, like, why do I need to come down? I'll come down for games or concerts or theater, but why would I come down on a Tuesday night? And besides, like, the axe throwing place, is that even still open? Over,
It's
you've got,
there.
all right, you got an axe throwing place, you got some sports bars kind of showing up, but a lot of suburbs have that too. So what is there to get people to come downtown?
I think you've pinpointed it, right? As like a lot of people have shifted towards experiential entertainment. So I think long term we have to look at experiential entertainment that maybe caps what's available in other places around the metro, right? So we can't just be trying to repeat what others have done successfully. Um, we have to think about how we best it in a way. And so the report talks about a lot of different strategies, gives a lot of examples of things that have worked in other cities. Um, so there's a range of things, and we've got some good space to work with for it. So I do
Are
think,
the
is there
rent?
anyone from GM on the line?
Yeah.
Because I have this, General Mills, I have a dream that, like, what about cereal? Doesn't it feel like a cereal museum would be so on brand for our region as the Mill
Oh,
City? And I'm
yes.
like, isn't it pop culture
Like
enough
with like a
that maybe
giant.
someone would want to do a big tricks thing? I don't know.
Yeah,
So
it's like
I'll
a
just throw that out
cereal.
there.
Oh, like a cereal like restaurant you could go to, a museum, like a sort of spam museum like,
Like,
except for
yeah, I guess you'd
downtown.
have to give up your Atkins diet, except for the spam, right?
That's right.
That
I
could
mean,
work.
it's pretty cool. I think that would be cool. Those are the kinds of things that I think a lot of us would be interested in. The other part of this, I think, when I think of these big old skyscrapers on Nicollet Mall, a lot of the ground floor space is big. So you're like, how, are the landlords open to subdividing these spaces to make them more useful? Are they being cooperative on affordable rent to make this doable for people? Like, what is the holdup?
I mean, those are the challenges. I do think it takes a while for the market to kind of realize where it's at. I think many of them still hope for a large retailer. And if you talk with some of them, they get inquiries from time to time and they have active conversations going. But it does feel like a bigger reach. And it's what makes us excited about some things like the appropriation the city did for these demising strategies potentially that would allow property owners to look at subdivision and sort of parsing out a little bit smaller spaces or custom building out some of these larger footprints. I mean, we have really, it's kind of ground zero for retail vacancy, 7th and Nicollet, like right at the heart of Nicollet.
Right.
We have a,
Sort of where
a
there used to be like a
challenging, yeah.
Walgreens and a Panera, and now there's just nothing.
Well, good news for the old Walgreens building. After 10 years of vacancy, we're working with zero empty spaces to convert that first floor retail space to 15 artist studios. So that's an exciting kind of transition too, where you think, oh yeah, great, thanks for popping up the picture. It's really this two-story white brick building downtown between 8th and 9th Street. Probably lots of people have passed by it. It's
Yeah.
been empty for 10 plus years. The landlord is an out-of-town property owner, and they don't own a lot of other property in town. And so it's challenging to kind of come to them with an idea that works. So partnering with a national group like Zero Empty Spaces, who has proven this concept in other markets, kind of helps make the case for how like this can happen here and this could be a real addition. And it really is just that transition time to like get the space cleaned up, empty out the trash, clean it up. The artist can make it beautiful. People can come through and look at their art and see the space. And maybe there's a tenant, a more permanent, tenant coming down the road for that space. And then, we can work with Zero Empty Spaces to find them the next studio space down the line. So
Lisa Middag is with us. It is a tricky. The whole thing is tricky. I mean, when you bring up the Walgreens store, that's a 10-year problem. That's not even a post. That's not even a post COVID. That's not a everyone's afraid of the crime. That is just downtown central business districts. And that, I guess, brings us to the really difficult question of saying, it, Are we spending a lot of effort and a lot of money on something that just is never going to be the way that we wanted it to be? So maybe it's time to think more about, can we have manufacturing in those spaces? Can we have warehousing? Can we have data centers? I mean, those sorts of things.
I mean, I do think some of those uses are uses that are coming more frequently into downtowns around the country. And I don't want to say we wouldn't want to look at them, but some of the spaces we're talking about aren't necessarily ideal for that either. So it is that challenging time for how retail has shifted. So much of it has changed in people's spending patterns and how they think about retail. I do think experiential retail is something that works. I mean, you can go out to the Mall of America and look around and see how many of those stores are no longer just shopping experiences that are really about, I'm bringing my kids and we're going to go look in the funny mirrors, right? And we're going to go to the next place and we're going
Like the
to
Meow
shoot our
Wolf.
pellet guns.
Right.
And yep,
We're showing that.
absolutely.
A texter texted in about that. You see that in a lot of cities, this sort of immersive
Absolutely.
stuff.
Everyone appreciates that sort of immersive experience that something like Meow Wolf, or even like the touring arts exhibitions like the Van Gogh exhibition, like those kinds of things. I
Yeah.
think we have space ripe for those, and not every space is ripe for those, but we've got enough scale. And I think, that's part of the conversation we're trying to drive forward with this strategy.
It's really good. I appreciate the time. I think it's good for people to know that this is where it's going and work is happening. Like, we're trying to get people down there for sure. Lisa Middag for the Minneapolis Downtown Council. Appreciate your time today. Thanks, Lisa.
Thanks so much.